Good evening, this is the Oscar Expert here. Welcome to my 6th recap of the Sundance Film Festival. We are out here seeing so many movies. We're going to talk about some of the ones that I'm seeing. First up, Zola. You are excited for me to talk about this one because you've been looking forward to it. It is an A24 film. That label, you'll see anything with that label, won't you? This is based on an infamous tweet storm that circulated the internet and got a lot of attention. A wild story of a stripper named Zola who accompanies Riley Keough's character out on a road trip after briefly meeting her, and it's wacky. What I think is great about this movie is the direction. You're watching something that at every turn that it can does something interesting with the style. Janicza Bravo understands the experimental side of film and is excited by what the possibilities are for trying new techniques, and the way that it's put on display here is really fun and energetic and perfect for this insane story. The movie's actually really funny and enjoyable. Riley Keough is iconic in this movie. Film Twitter is gonna go nuts for this performance because she's playing the trashiest white girl, and it's pretty amazing. It was just a movie that I was always on the edge of my seat to see how the next scene would be done, where it was going with this wacky story. By the time it ended, it felt like it kind of just ended. It was oh, this story is over. And I wasn't left coming away with an understanding for who these characters were on the inside. As much as this movie is about the online beef between Zola and Riley Keough's character, it didn't really feel like a movie about their relationship as much as I hoped it would be. The source material was a little bit straining it. It felt like it had to hit every tweet. I hadn't even read the tweet storm before, but I kind of felt it doing that. Sometimes it was very obvious about doing that because it would have the little tweet noise going off in the middle of his scene because I guess something was a tweet sent out by somebody. And that was a little distracting for me. It sort of took me out of the movie. I wanted to be taken on a journey that felt like an experience and getting immersed into a world. I just wanted a little more from these characters. But as a stylistic, fun, wacky piece, this is a totally unique ride, and I'm definitely glad that I saw it. And I think that you should see it as well. It left me wanting a little more, but I can't complain, too much when the filmmaking is this original and exciting. So I will give Zola a 7 out of 10. Next, we have SYLVIE'S Love. This is a nostalgia fest of 50s films, 50s romance films. And that's what this movie is. It stars Tessa Thompson. From the opening scene, you have a classical movie score, you got classical movie font, very well shot. The production design, everything resembles old films. It's actually kind of impressive how they were able to mimic it. But that's just what it is. It's a mimic of these other films. We have films like Brooklyn or Carol and Far From Heaven from Todd Haynes that sort of do this, where they, harken back to older styles of film. But those films had an edge to them, and they had reason to exist. Their stories were unique and had something to say. This, to me, had absolutely nothing to offer. I am in the minority on this one. Let's just make that clear. If you want to go swoon over a movie that came out now, but is pretending to be an old movie, and you're like, oh my god, the old movies, then you'll like this movie. For me, I do not care for that kind of nostalgia. I wanted it to have something to say. I wanted it to have a reason to exist. Romance films don't get more one-dimensional. There's absolutely nothing to it. Except for the feeling, oh, they're falling in love. Oh, but she's got a fiance, and the fiance, when we meet him, he's kind of a dick. This guy's kind of the perfect guy for her, she's perfect for him, but for some reason, the movie, keeps them apart. It's holding back two pit bulls from going at each other because it just needs to sustain the movie for almost 2 hours. The last 20 minutes of this film is how are they still holding out this conflict? How are these characters not just, together yet? The story has nothing. It is a flat, dull, boring romance. The only thing it has going for it is that it's an old-looking movie. Yes, it has black leads, and you couldn't have done that back in the day, so I guess that's maybe, the purpose that this movie exists, but aside from a couple notes throughout the script, you could pretty much replace them with a white couple and it'd be the same exact movie. If it harkened back to good romances from the 50s, I would be on board. It harkens back to bad romances of the 50s. The movie is all aesthetic. It's super cheesy. It's see you later, alligator. And then he goes away and then she goes, in a while, crocodile. The characters don't have depth. The only thing that they learn is that they need to accept that they feel things for each other and actually go for it, which is like the most obvious thing I've ever seen. I will give it a 3 out of 10. I was not a fan. And I watched the 40-year-old version. Radha Blank stars in and wrote and directed this film, which has a very distinct personality. It's shot in black and white. It kind of has this sort of like very indie, just get out there and make a movie sort of style. Radha Blank just has a huge personality that's just like fun to stick with from start to finish of this movie. She's about to turn 40 and she is struggling with like where she is in her life. A struggling artist who hasn't really like made it yet. She is offered to do a play that she has to like kind of compromise her vision on, and then she also kind of takes a new interest in rapping. It's about someone exploring like where to find their voice as an artist. This movie's really funny, and it's a fun look into this life. Radha Blank plays a character who you really want to be around. The fact that she directed, wrote, and stars in this movie, like this is all like her personality, and it's a movie brimming with that personality, which makes it so great. It doesn't necessarily say anything by the end that you didn't think it was going to about like finding your voice as an artist. And at 2 hours and 9 minutes, it's a little long for the type of movie that it is. But this one was really enjoyable. It was charming, a delight. I feel like Radha Blank should have her own TV show that's just like this. So I really enjoyed this, and I will give it an 8 out of 10. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Which of your tweets is going to get a movie adaptation?